Yes, it's
Sure.
audible. Yeah, thank you.
Hi guys. Hi everyone. How you all doing?
I so we're doing
Great.
absolutely fine.
Great, 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 great. And I hope kind of the whatever lectures that you have got chance to attend from either me or some other person from some other mentor from Bright Ego. I think you are doing your practices at home as well, because it's not about your kind of session that what you learn here. It's more about that how you try and practice that thing by yourself, because unless you practice it, you won't get the hang of it. It's very important.
Correct.
Okay, alrighty. So, so today, kind of the topic that we are going to discuss is product design at the very broader level. And I would tell you that product design is one of the core thing into product management. And the important part is that unlike before, let's say maybe kind of I've been taking these interviews of a lot of product managers, probably since around 5 or 8, 5, 7 years. And when I used to take those interviews around 5 years back, at that time, product design questions were not that popular. And people used to ask certain questions around analytics or basics of product management, which is around wireframing and all those things. But product design was not being asked a lot in the previous days. However, at the moment, this is one of the core, or you can say favorite question of each and every interviewer. Why? Because in this case, interviewer will be able to gauge multiple aspects. That means the understanding of the solution which you are developing, the understanding of the solution that you are developing for the users, if from the design principle perspective, is that solution viable or not? So, because the point is that you keep on working on a lot of solutions and which might be even beautiful when it comes to look and feel. But is it usable? Not sure. So, therefore, usability is one aspect which is super important these days. And just to break the myth, if you have any, usability is not only about user interface. So, what you see on the front, that is not only what is covered under usability. There is more than that. Any thoughts around usability? Have you guys heard of that term before? Anyone?
Yes, we have heard about the term usability. It basically depends on the UX also. Okay, how the user is flown through the entire app, how he interacts with other elements and all. That all are very important. And the grid is the best example for this.
Okay, okay. Uh, who just said that? Abhinav,
Uh,
is it you?
yes, yes, it was me.
Okay, sure. And you have heard of UI as well?
Yes, user interface and UX both.
Okay. And do you know the
Yes,
difference between these two? Or these two are
yes.
same?
Now these were completely different actually.
Okay.
UI is basically designing the elements के icon कैसे जाएगा, कौन सा क्या जाएगा. UX is basically designing the entire flow of the app. कि how will be onboarding the user, where will he go after coming to the home page. कि मतलब UX basically designing the entire flow. User कैसे interact करेगा आगे साइट के ऊपर, उसे कैसे हम लेके जाएंगे अपने जर्नी के थ्रू ना. That is all UX. And UI is basically decorating the wireframe with actual elements. That's for me.
Sure, sure. No, that really makes sense. Yep, that's true. Uh, UI is more around that what you show on the screen, and UX is more about user experience.
Yes.
When we are saying experience, that means how user, how easy would it be to interact with the elements on the screen.
Yes.
If you are putting something really beautiful, uh, probably it might look really really great once user sees it, very attractive. But is it serving the core purpose? That means if I'm saying that user is supposed to click on this button once user land on this screen, so are you making button that much prominent so that it catches the attention of the user? If yes, then are you placing the button at the right place so that it is visible to the user correctly? If so, once user clicks on that button, then the kind of experience that you give, does it give user that comfort that what user expected before clicking that button is actually happening or not? And that is why there is one important element in the entire UX part, which is beyond UI, is the backend part. So backend, when I'm saying wherever you click on something, after that, some request goes to the backend. So basically, you guys understand front end and backend. I'm not sure you guys understand the basics.
I understand.
We
Okay.
have idea. I
Yeah.
have idea.
All right. Okay. So for the benefit of doubt, because I'm not sure if everybody understands that part, I would just quickly tell that, okay, once you interact with a site, let's say this is a site, if I'll tell you about this. So maybe let's say we are opening up Amazon.com. So now you open this site. Now, once you click on sign in, after that, this screen opens up, right? So what made the browser show you this screen? So that is, once you click on sign in, then there is a request which gets formed, and that request goes to the backend, which is basically the server. So once you click somewhere on the button, it tells a machine that this user is willing to see this kind of a screen. And therefore, this request sort of thing gets served with the help of this screen. That yes, now you can fill in the details on the screen to perform next activity. But so that's one thing. So this is the backend part, which actually serves those requests. Once you click here and you see this form, it's because uh, on clicking this button, it tells to the system that user is looking for a screen, and then that system returns this screen, which gets shown to you on this browser. Now, if you click on this, and let's say if see, loading of this screen takes around 3 to 5 seconds, then would you be a happy person? No, because around 80-85% people leave a site in case site takes more than 3 seconds to load. And that is why Google's best usability practices says that your page should load in less than 3 seconds. So that's also part of usability. That means if you are able to manage the entire user experience, which is if you are able to serve users need in expected amount of time, that means your UX, or I would say your usability, is better. Having said that, we'll just step into this product design session. So now here one interesting thing that we are gonna talk about is Jacob Nielsen's 10 heuristics. So Nielsen and Company is actually a usability consulting company. Okay, and they they've been doing this consulting since decades. So usability is not a new term; it's pretty old term. However, it got its due credit or due importance in last 10 to 15 years only. So in my first job, where I worked as a full stack developer, in last 6 to 8 months, I worked as a usability consultant as well. That was one of the additional responsibility that I had along with development. So I really started appreciating usability back then because when I was an engineer, I was just developing what was given to me for development. And I was not questioning anything to the designers. But once I stepped into the usability territory, after that I learned a lot of stuff. I got to know that what is doable and what is not doable from the usability principle standpoint. So, we'll be talking about 10 most popular heuristics which have been established by Jacob Nielsen. Nielsen and Company, as I mentioned, that they've been doing usability consulting since ages, and they are sort of market leader in this space. So they keep on coming with the latest usability practices on their site, and they also provide consulting to multiple companies in the world from usability perspective. That let's say you are building a site and you want a person who can help you in making that site really usable in first go, then at times you go to usability consultant. A lot of people hire UX folks. A lot of companies, a lot of startups, they do not hire UX folks directly. What they do, they hire usability consultants on contracts to just help them improve the usability of their site. So we'll talk about 10 heuristics. Number one is visibility of system status. And as it says, that you need to communicate to the user the active state of what is going on in the UI. So you might have seen that once you go to a mall, so I'm sure that you all must have visited a mall. So if you go to a mall and you see that there are a lot of areas or a lot of places wherein they put some charts which tells you that which shop is where in the mall, so that you can easily locate that shop. At the same time, what it tells you, one important thing, that you are here. Because if you know where you are, then in that case you really can figure out that what exactly that how exactly you should consume that data. That, let's say, if the desired shop is on second floor and maybe left corner, in that case you need to understand that here you are, and if you want to reach to that shop, then how you can reach it. Now that's what is about the active state. Active state means where you are at the moment. Now, if I'll talk about this side, and I would like to know from you, what do you think, or what do you kind of realize once if you will be shown with this screen? What do you guys think? Are you able to check where you are? You able to understand that where you are?
Yes, we can see we are at the wishlist section of the e-com site.
Hmm. Okay.
Because there's proper breadcrumbs there in the top left corner. There are breadcrumbs also, and there are also navigation indexes on the top. So now your wishlist and there is proper indication. I can see where I am.
Okay. Okay. Any other taker?
Also, it seems to be a lazy load, and it is clearly indicating that hold please that till the image comes up. So they are indicating that the image is getting loaded.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the top tabs, clothing, accessory sites, we are not sure which one is highlighted as of now. So basically, clothing should be highlighted, and looks are not appealing. Like it looks like a simple plain website.
That is
There's
right.
they have highlighted wishlist section is in the bold. They have highlighted where they are.
But it is very small to eye catch the thing. Maybe
So UI, yes, sir. Page का theme use कर रहे हैं what you are.
Right. I think all of you are correct, and I think the UI, kind of, to my understanding as well, UI is a little suboptimal.
yeah.
And while it is, maybe it is possible to identify that where you are at the moment, however, user generally would probably struggle a little to identify where user is exactly, in case this is the first screen that is shown to the user. Of course, breadcrumbs are there to guide you, because this is more like a traditional navigation navigator sort of thing, and you can easily get to know that where you are. But if user would not see that, if user would see the screen, then you need to make certain effort in order to understand that where you are at the moment. And why so? Why do you think that it looks like that? If anybody thinks the same way, that it is a little confusing or it is not that easy to adopt, why do you think that is happening?
One wishlist is not highlighted anywhere in proper big font, I guess. It
Okay.
is all the font sizes are similar, and there is no proper indication कि हाँ wishlist की section है proper ये आपकी.
Mhm.
That is the case.
Okay. Yep. Yep, Rasool.
I think font size also matters a lot. That style and size, they are little too small. If I mean a person with maybe less eyesight may feel struggle in reading that.
And
Right.
there's one more thing. There's no visual indication. Like they could use icons more. A wishlist like a bag icon. That would be also very helpful. Here they are only using the fonts. No icons is used. Very little icons are used. अगर आइकन्स भी लगा देंगे तो अलग जैसे ये तो बहुत छोटा है ना ये तो नेविगेशन टैब है मैप टैब है तो अगर ये जहाँ की मेन H1 है, जैसे योर विश लिस्ट, वहाँ पे कुछ इंडिकेशन हो जाती है ना, बैंक पे कुछ भी होता तो प्रॉपर दिख जाता कि हम कहाँ पे हैं।
ओके,
अभी ऐसे भी रख सकते, नॉर्मल आदमी को ये ले रही लैंडिंग पेज ही इनका मेन, और कोई लिखने के लिए इतना साउंड इसको देगा, होम पेज पे है हम लोग भी, ये सब प्रॉपर इंडिकेशन है।
ओके, okay, okay, all right. Well,
Puneet,
yep,
yeah, Puneet sir, if like we are in the wish list page, there is no need of this. I mean, the clothing, accessories, these things are unnecessary. Rather, we could just highlight on the wish list part and all that. That's why it's becoming more confusing because too much of things are jotted in one place.
true. So that's absolutely right. I think, kind of, there is a lot of things on the screen. Number one, which makes it little difficult to consume. That's number one. Number two, that when it comes to consumption, then there is something which is known as cognitive load. That is a term which is very popular these days in the market. So whenever you'll be talking about UX, whenever you'll be talking with some UX guy, then you will see or you'll hear this term pretty often. So cognitive load is that the capability or leveraging the capability of human mind to understand what all required to be consumed primarily on seeing a screen. If you would show lot of stuff with the similar amount of importance from the UI perspective, then user mind will get bored very easily because cognitive load will be very high. The point is that generally what happens that there are primary, there are secondary, there are tertiary elements on the screen, and designer's job is to give them enough segregation or distinction, you may say, number one, so that user would be able to understand what to consume first, what to consume second, and so on and so forth. Now here, the one thing that designer did not do potentially correctly is that designer could not make that segregation very prominent. And therefore, once you land on the screen, you see that a lot of stuff is there. Top bar is there, then second bar is there, breadcrumbs are there. And then you see header like your wish list, this is H1, H1 is here. And then you see that even after images, you see a lot of stuff which are looking very monotonous, very clear, but at the same time very monotonous. Why I'm saying clear? Because it's white background and black color of font. But at the same time, the font style is same across almost. The font casing, it's always block letters except this part, which also makes it difficult for the user to consume easily. And that is why, while it might be possible for the user to identify where user is, but it will certainly take much time, and user might not be very happy from the UX perspective. So quickly show you the example. So let's say this one, Amazon. Now, if you see here the top bar, there are two navigation bars, even on Amazon. What they did, they actually gave the most solid color to the top bar, and next level of or one shade or two shade down color to the secondary bar. Generally, that's what happens, that the navigation bar is the stronger one, and therefore it carries a stronger color. If you see this, or if you see maybe LinkedIn or anything for that matter, you'll see that the top bar is always heavy. I think LinkedIn is doing some experiment because LinkedIn used to have this color in the background, because the top bar you can never leave in the light color generally. If you see Facebook, maybe in Facebook they have, I'm not sure if I have logged in on Facebook on this or not, but Facebook also have blue color at the top. The whole idea is that the important part is that you should be able to distinguish the navigation bar with the rest of the stuff of the page. If you cannot do that, in that case, you would not be able to guide user correctly. Or maybe let's say if I open maybe YouTube. Okay, now this is more like dark mode. I'll probably try and use it just a second. Airbnb.
You can also
Flipkart may also have the same.
So it's the same. In fact, I have Flipkart in my slide only. I'll probably refer to slides. So this is a Flipkart site, a little old one maybe. But the point is that there also you'll see that the top bar is a
Dark
solid,
blue. Yeah.
which is more distinct which is more distinguished from rest of the screen. At the same time, because they have secondary navigation bar as well. So they had two options: either to give this a lighter shade of blue so that this can again be easily distinguished with the rest of the page, or by accompanying each and every link, first of all making it bold, second is accompanying with a drop down sign to give it more like a menu kind of look and feel. So that is something also kind of different UX folks does. Now here, what do you see? What is missing? Is there something that you are finding missing, or this looks okay to you? Any thoughts?
I guess there are no buttons to scroll the top header or the.
That is okay. I mean, okay. So it's not like kind of you have to find something. If even if you are thinking that this looks decently fine to you, that's all okay. Because this, I'm not saying that Flipkart has really pathetic design. This is probably an acceptable design, pretty much acceptable in the market. There is less amount of usability issues, I think, as compared to the previous one, certainly. Like here, if you do this one, you will definitely see a lot of improvement areas in this one. But probably the improvement areas are not as much as on this screen.
Puneet sir, if actually the entire background is white here,
Mhm.
so if we could make changes in that, like the second navigation bar can be a little lighter shade of something blue, and because everything, the rest of the background is white, so I think the change of color would be more appealing or more prominent.
Yep, that is true. Yep, I agree with that. So a lighter shade or probably a non-white shade for the secondary navigation bar, which is this, would have helped further user to discover this section
Yeah.
easily. Sure. So, kind of we'll talk about other principles as well. And it's for probably your homework as well. Like I would like you to do one thing that just, kind of pick up 5 sites that you really like. Okay. Or maybe applications. And then take maybe a couple of screens from those applications. And after that, do an audit, share, and kind of put your thoughts. Don't overthink. Just for the sake of finding some issues on the site and all, you should not be thinking that way. If you think that site is doing really good job, that's fine, because they are not kind of, they are top sites for not any reason. There is a reason why kind of they are top sites. It's not that you can easily identify issues in those sites. So that would really help you understand those nuances a little well. Okay. So certainly there should be, there could be plenty of improvement that you can put on this. Maybe the point is that the login button. Generally, this button is looking a very not so appealing button at all. So in order to make it a little more appealing, you could have given it a little better shape, a little better color maybe. Right now, it is more like a very sort of a little bit of raw, and therefore, while it might catch attention, but I'm not sure if the propensity to click is very high on this button. So, all right. So we'll jump to next one, which is match between system and the real world. So this is also super important that the thing is that by nature, or by, you can say, by probably the by habit, we generally tend to relate to any online version of an offline system with its offline version. That means that if you have seen a compass to check the directions, you have seen that, right? It must be in all the phones right now. It's a basic native application. If you want to check that which side is north, east, west, south, north, you can easily check that. That's the compass that you have available as an application in your phones. But a lot of people have used compass or seen compass uh, in the physical form as well. Now, the thing is that how well they will be able to connect with this application of compass depends on that how relatable designer is making this digital form of compass with the real world design. You can, of course, kind of try out different things, but if you can make it as it very close to the real world compass, then the learning curve of the user will not be there, and it will be very easy for user to understand the compass or the application that you are trying to make. Okay, so system should speak the user's language with words, phrases, and concepts familiar to the user rather than system oriented terms. Follow real world conventions, making information appear in a natural and logical order. So we'll talk about compass part a little later as well, because that's one of the example which you will see later part as well. But for this case, it's about this. So the earbuds are, or you can see, kind of the way it has been kept in a frame. This looks like a shape of an ear. Although, kind of you might not have thought of this consciously, because you are from that era who have seen earplugs from the very start, maybe around 15 or 20 years ago, or even 25 years ago, it might have come. But since around 15 or 18 years, it has got really popular in the market. And therefore, you might have not noticed that how easily it for you it was to relate it to the ears. But for people who are probably our parents and maybe our grandparents, who probably did not see these kind of things in their lifetime earlier, for them it probably would have been a slightly difficult to understand just by look that if this is for their ears or not. So therefore you need to make it as close as possible so that user can easily relate to it. This is a compass example which I was giving. So this is on the right hand side, you'll see the physical compass. Okay. So there are a lot of travelers you would find who would be having compass. Of course, in the old days, not anymore. But yeah. Now the same thing is being replicated in your device as well, in your mobile phones. But the way it is shown is almost similar to the way it used to be in the physical form. So that's the thing. So when you're talking about giving a good user experience, then you need to shorten the learning curve of the user. And how can you do that? By making it as close as possible to the counterpart of the relatable thing, the offline version of the same thing. Any thoughts on this, guys, or any other question, concern? Otherwise, we'll move to the next heuristic. Or if you think that I'm going too slow, we can be a little faster. I'm open to that as well.
You are okay.
Great. Thank you. All right. Now, with this, we come to our third point, which is user control and freedom. So I'll tell you, it is almost impossible to ask user to not to click somewhere. User would definitely keep on clicking on multiple links, multiple buttons on the screen. Now the thing is that some of those clicks would be intentional. That means before clicking, user definitely know that where it would lead. But certain buttons or certain links would be there wherein user would like to explore or not sure if user should click here or not. The classic example is the sale button or maybe offers button. So Now, if you land on a site, let's say Paytm site, you would see
Zomato also.
absolutely Zomato is there.
Always a smaller case and everything so that the user misses it before ordering.
True that, absolutely. In fact, let's say, kind of this is a little more clear now. In fact, we have come a long way. Earlier, it was not, like this. And in fact, a lot of sites, what they used to say, bumper sale, everything at 99, and then user clicks on it, and then user sees that there's whole lot of things which are definitely worth rupees 99, but all those things are any which is worth rupees around 99. So the point is that I don't want to come here. I don't want to be here. And if at that time you do not give user an easy option to leave that space and go back to the previous state, in that case, it becomes very difficult for you to retain user, because user thinks that you cannot understand the accidental clicks by the user, and therefore user would probably, instead of struggling to reach back to the previous page, user would close your site and may or may not open it again. Example is this. This is Quora. Now, you might have heard about Quora. It's a platform wherein people ask a lot of questions, and then people only answer to those questions. So this is one of my favorite applications in the past, not anymore. They have done some changes, and which I personally did not find very interesting. But yeah, the important point is that Quora understands this part pretty well, that people are bound to make mistakes. The point is that am I am I able to give them an option to improve on their mistakes, to correct their mistakes? So if by mistake you entered nice work and instead of K, you typed a little faster and you clicked WORL, because L is the key which is next to K in your keyboard, and you pressed enter. So now it is nice whirl, which definitely don't like. So you here give an user an option to edit your comment or delete your comment. So therefore, you are helping user with an option with which users are free to make mistakes, because you are giving an option to correct them. Or if you go to Gmail, there are a lot of times it has happened with me in the past. I'm sure that it might have happened with you as well, that I write that please find attached the file, and I used to forget to attach the file. Although these days Google now and maybe all other email clients have come up with a smart thing that if they identify that attached term is there in the mail body, but there is no attachment, then they show you a dialog box that looks like you missed attaching the file. But it was not the case earlier. At the same time, there is one more thing which nobody can probably help you with. That means you wanted to send an email to the entire team on the success of a project, but accidentally you missed two team members name in the recipients list. Now as soon as you press on the send button, you realized, oh, I missed two of them, and therefore you just want to undo that action immediately if possible. So now Google or Gmail or even other email clients as well give you this option to undo, wherein you can roll back the message again in the draft form. You can make the necessary changes and then send it again. So Gmail allows you to undo. That's again a mistake correction kind of a thing. Is it clear, guys?
Yes,
Okay.
it is clear.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll take it. Yes. Yeah. So please, kind of feel free to jump in. I think that something doesn't make sense to you, or if you are not able to correlate it correctly with some other example of from your life or your professional journey. The next principle we'll talk about is consistency in standards. So users should not have to wonder whether different words, situation, or actions means the same thing. So this is exactly what we have seen here. It's very monotonous. Almost every single element on the screen from the textual perspective looks more or less similar. Okay. So had these been in a different language, you would have never been able to identify what is primary and what is secondary probably. So the point is that Jack and Milson says that users should not have to wonder about the different words, situations, or actions if they mean the same thing or not. So this is an example. So you would see the top bar, all these are that navigation bar items. And these all are similar in nature. That means similar in the hierarchy. So there is a hierarchy that we form in a UX. So if I'll come to this, the hierarchy is that this is the top hierarchy. That means the parent or the grandparent of the entire page. This is the second level in the hierarchy, which is more like a parent of the page. And then rest of the stuff, which is more like different children on the screen. Okay. Now, what you want is that all parents should look more or less same, so that user would be able to understand that at the hierarchical level, all these are at the same level. These might be more like a category, different categories, but they are at the same level in terms of hierarchy. At the same time, these all links are same at the hierarchical level. And how you can communicate that to the user? Number one is that you put them together in the same ribbon or same bar. That's number one. Number two is you use same background for all those things. That means all same background for all these items, all these links. Number three is you give all of them same treatment from the font styling perspective. That means the font color, font size, font family, all these things should be same. Now here as well, if we'll take this example, if you would show men in red color and women, boys, girls, customize and all these in black color. So user would see that that men is different than these. Is it really? No, it is not. So therefore you need to handle that thing by following the standard and consistency. Same is the case with Mintra. Now the new sort of you can say principle which is followed now, that you cannot put all these at the same level. So what do? You put something as a divider, which divides the consistency in the graceful way. So here if you see that these all are a homogeneous group of elements. That means these all are of similar nature. Men, women, kids, home and living offers, these all are categories on Myntra. Now, these all are also similar, but you cannot probably put this exactly in the same way, or you don't want to do that. You can definitely put that, but still you want to use icons here, unlike here. So if this bar is not here, would have not been here. And if you would have shown this, and next to these links, you would have shown directly these, then it would have made a very confused UI for the user. Because user would say, यार यहाँ पर तो सारे consistent लग रहे हैं, but after some time I see that all of a sudden these three have appeared, which do not follow look and feel at all. Neither icons, nor the font size, nor the font style, nor even casing. So therefore you divide these two categories gracefully with the help of a search bar. This is exactly what you would see even on Amazon. Like Deliver to India is there, but still they would divide it in the bar and then show it here. Now, why this is one of the classic example is that here you would say hello sign in, because you did not want to give this piece very prominence. Instead, you wanted to give prominence to accounts and lists. Therefore, you put this in a little bold state. Now, you need to follow this pattern to here as well. So therefore, while probably you would have written orders and returns, because what you write first, user would read that with more emphasis. And that is the primary purpose of that section. Okay. And this what you write afterwards, that is the secondary purpose. So ideally, it should have been orders and returns, right? Because आप चाहते हो कि order ज़्यादा करें, order check करें लोग returns अपने ज़्यादा ना करें या return ना करें. लेकिन here why you have written that? Because orders is higher or larger in the font perspective, and therefore this would get the prominence, or people would read this a little more easily as compared to returns. And now because you wanted to follow this, otherwise if you would have written orders and returns, then order would have been in the smaller font and returns would have been in the larger font, which would have caught the eyeballs of the user. So there are a lot of small things, a lot of tiny things which goes into it, and you can understand as much as kind of you go deeper and deeper. Does this make sense, guys? Or nahi yaar ye kuch jama nahi? I'm not sure if this really makes sense.
It makes sense.
Makes
Completely
sense.
makes sense.
Sure. Now the fifth one is error prevention. So you would have seen that there are a lot of errors that you see on the screen. You keep on seeing that. Let's say if I'll talk about Naukri.com and if I go to, let's say, maybe register, okay, I'll tell you that I'm an experienced. Now, here, I do not enter anything. Just a second, I'll just open it in the incognito mode. Would be easier. I'll go as a fresher maybe. Now if I click on register now you see that all the errors are being displayed or put in the text clearly. Please specify your email ID. Please specify a password. Specify your mobile number or location. At the same time, as a help text, you write on top, enter your full name, because there are a lot of sites which asks first name and last name separately, but here because we are not offering user more than one field or separate fields for first or last name, therefore we are writing it clearly in the help text. Or email id, we know that this email id will be used to send user latest jobs and all, and therefore we want user to write that email id where the user would like to receive a job related emails. So all these help text actually make life easier for the user. Or you can say that this makes the entire system idiot proof. There are a lot of people who either do not understand things unless being told to them clearly, or they tend to ignore things if they are not being shown the description upfront. So therefore, if we tell these things user to the user in detail, user would be more easily able to relate to it, that what is required from the user. Now, this is what this section says, this principle says, that you need to make system a little idiot proof for the user. The one that I had shown, that was from the error perspective. Now I'll show another design that kind of that came into existence a few years ago, and why it came, that is also I'm going to tell you. So what used to happen, all these sites used to have an option to enter departure date or arrival date in MMDDYYY format or DDMMYYY format. Now once you start typing in, then the help text goes off. Let's say if I typing in, let's say my name, Puneet Verma. Now you see that the help text is no more visible, because had it been continued to visible, then it would have confused you. And therefore, what used to happen here, people used to write MMDDYYY, but when people actually used to start typing in, they messed up. They used to mess up. They used to type either DDMMYY, or maybe what has been asked. They used to write opposite to it. So to overcome this kind of a problem, now user used to enter it and click on submit. After that, the dialog box used to appear that there is some issue in your input. Please correct your input. And now user is not able to understand that what wrong did I do. So what UX folks came up with is a calendar based approach, so that all these problems would not occur in first place. That means once you click on depart date, after that you need to browse through the calendar, which is of course self-explanatory, and therefore you don't end up making any kind of mistake. So as a product manager or as a UX designer, you need to understand that you need to make system that easy to use, so that or that idiot proof, so that user either would not make any mistake in first place like this one, or even if user make a mistake, after that you would be able to tell user clearly that what mistake user has made. There's another example. You might have tried this, use this on the daily basis, maybe the alarms. Now the thing is that, let's say right now it's 12:05 past midnight. Now the point is that technically tomorrow is not 25th of July, it is 26th of July, right? Today. But when I'm sleeping at that time, I'm still probably a day before, because for me the day has not ended yet. Now the point is, if I would have shown only tomorrow, and then user would have kind of set the alarm at 8 a.m., then it would be tomorrow, but in reality it will be day after tomorrow as per you, because it's already 12:05, and you don't realize that you are already stepped in the next day. So therefore they also show Wednesday, because that you can relate with, that tomorrow is Wednesday, 8 a.m. Got this point, guys?
Yes, right.
Okay. So please feel free to ask any question or ping any question. I'll probably check the chats as well in case you want to speak. And feel free to interrupt, guys. There is no issue with that. In case you think that, Puneet, this does not make sense, or Puneet, I think I have a point to make, or I've seen some other place as well wherein this principle have been used, and I observed it. So feel free to jump in. All right.
Okay, so just wanted to discuss about the calendar function.
Mhm,
Sometimes it gets very tedious to basically select the date,
mhm.
especially when we have to probably put in our date of birth,
Right.
right? So, there should be some aspect where this could actually be improved, because scrolling the calendar and finding that becomes really tedious.
That's true. That's very true. So generally what used to happen, there are two kind of approaches that have been used in the market. So number one approach is this one that we have seen. So why this gets shown on clear trip? Because generally you'll be booking your tickets maybe 2 or 3 months later maximum. It's not like you'll be booking probably for next year. But for date of birth, this is exactly opposite, because you might need to scroll maybe 30, 40 times in order to reach to your date of birth. So
Yeah,
generally what,
for that, some sites use now the drop down button so that we can just scroll and go to the year. But still, some sites use this back button only, where we have to click almost so many times to
People
get to our.
sometimes also use the flow. First, they ask you the date, the year, then month, then the date. That was also used in some sites.
Yeah.
that's right, that's right. In fact, that is the thing, kind of a lot of sites actually use it that way. Now the point is that as a product manager, you should be able to take up that challenge, that yes, I want to improve the UX for my users, and therefore once user will be entering date of birth, at that time I'll be giving a better experience from the calendar standpoint, let's say. Maybe kind of contact this. So either this way, people put it that way.
Yeah, this scroll I was talking about.
Right. So this way people put it, or this one, or this one. But when it comes to maybe a singular look, in that case what people put it maybe three layer architecture. That means in first layer you will be showing blocks of years,
Yes,
10, 10
correct,
years.
correct.
You'll be containing a decade. So 80 to 90, 90 to 2000. And once you click on that, then you used to show exact uh, years. 1991, 92, 93, 94. You select from there. It definitely increases the tabs, but it's more like that user would not be required to make a lot of effort in scrolling down, or maybe scrolling left or right a lot.
So basically, I faced this issue with an ICICI app where I
Mhm.
basically needed to link my date of do the KYC and link do some authentication or something with ICICI card. So it was basically not the or they the option. For example, they wanted if you wanted to change the year, you first had to click on 2020 and then go to that particular year. But it was not very intuitive to that to change the day year. You have to click on the year, right?
Right.
So so that is something that I just wanted to point out. Probably some intuition can be added to the UI where, for example, if we want to click on change the day year, then clicking on the year, we can change the year.
Right. In fact, that's a good point. I think, see, in case of date of birth, na, generally, if the person who is accessing the site or capable of doing that would definitely be around 15 to 18 years older in most of the cases. And in that case, if user would need to enter date of birth, in that case, user would need to go back to that level. In case by default you are showing today's date, once calendar gets opened in the default state. So in that case, it makes total sense to either ask the tentative age of the user. So that's one way, wherein you are asking the tentative age, current age, and then if user is saying that 30 years, let's say, and then from today you go to 30-year before calendar, all of in one single shot. Or once user clicks on the calendar field, at that time in the first go, you open the year field directly. That means first you need to enter that which year bracket your date of birth falls. So there are multiple ways, and you pointed out right. I think that really can be improved. In fact, that should be improved because uh, while in ICICI Bank, people even if people are not liking UI a lot, even then, since this is related to a little bit of financial transaction, and you will not be changing your bank account just because in their application their date of birth field is not of a good experience, but these are the very small things which improves the engagement of users on your platform. So therefore definitely worth pondering upon.
And I would also like to add that the number of clicks here is very important. It was on our site Policy Bazaar. We are now focusing on reducing the number of clicks because if the number of clicks are less, the conversions are more. अगर हम क्लिक्स बहुत कम करते हैं तो हमारे कन्वर्जन बढ़ते हैं. हमारे लास्ट फ्लो में हमने इस पे फोकस किया था हमने कि क्लिक्स कम करें अपने यूजर फ्लो में जो जर्नी में ना. अगर हम क्लिक्स बहुत कम करते हैं तो हमारी लीड ज्यादा मिलती थी हमें, हमारे कन्वर्जन अच्छे आते थे. तो हम ये फोकस करते हैं कि क्लिक्स कम से कम रखें अपनी साइट पे.
That's a fair point. Actually, that's a lot of sites are actually doing that right now because there is a drop of funnel which gets created. So that
करेक्ट.
means number of people who did not reach to next stage, that tells you that how many people are dropping off at each and every level, and it's almost kind of impossible to make sure that number of people who clicked on X button, they would also click on Y button, which is the next stage of X. So therefore you want to reduce X, Y, and Z stages in order to convert people with most sort of conversion rate, with highest conversion rate. So I agree. Number of clicks are kind of people are giving really good thought for reducing number of clicks on each and every site these days.
Yeah, Puneet, I work on OCR, ICR technology. So even when a form comes for automation in on an interface, so I usually focus on how many keystrokes can I reduce for this person. So we will try to capture, let's say for example, SSN for that person, and SSN is like 9-digit number. So if at all we can manage to capture 6 digit, and those are like handwritten, user has to keystroke only 3 digit. So at least I am saving those 6 keystrokes. So in US, I mean, there were firms which used to pay end user on number of keystrokes, and they usually make lot of savings. If I say I'm reducing 3 keystrokes, that means I'm saying it's saving 1 second. Just one example. Now multiply that number of seconds with number of users, number of hours, and over a month, that results into a potential saving.
Absolutely. That's spot on, Prasoon. And in fact, kind of, this actually takes me another project that I worked on is a CV parser for Naukri.com.
Okay.
So that means there are a lot of cases wherein people have their CVs available and they are not interested in, or they don't have enough time, or they find it very boring to fill the Naukri's form
Right.
everything one by one. So what we have an option that you just need to upload a document, a CV, and basis CV, our AI or data science based algorithm will extract all the information and will pre-fill it in each and every relevant field on your Naukri form. And you just need to review it and click on next, next, and submit. That's it.
Great. That's
Right.
great.
Right, I totally get that. In fact, while I was with ICICI Bank, I was a part of core team of tap banking at that time. So in back in 2014, or I would say 13 even, at that time the tap banking was one really, really big retail project which ICICI Bank was having. They were part of the core team which decides on the innovation part of it at that time. So what we did at that time, that people had their forms already filled. So at that time, when we used to, or executive used to visit their places, so in the tab banking, they have one more option to scan the form. They just used to take the screenshot of the form, and they already have an existence, kind of sort of not algorithm, I would say, but already a system available, which automatically used to detect that the first row would be of name, second would be of, and second and third would be of address. And then basis that, they used to pre-fill the application form of the user for opening a bank account. And then the executive used to cross check with the users that if this is the correct information or not. If they say yes, then the account gets used to get opened up. So this also, kind of one of the use case that we found in tier two cities at that time. But yeah,
That's interesting.
absolutely, totally makes sense. If you reduce clicks, you definitely retain more and more customers. All right. So we'll jump on the sixth one, which is recognition rather than recall. So this is more, kind of important from that perspective, wherein you think that if even if you make your system very complex, and let's say user has used your system once. Now what do you think, that if user has used it once, then user can use it twice as well, because user might be able to recall कि यार मैंने पिछली बार यहाँ पे गया था मैं, और उसके बाद फिर मैंने ये वाली एक्टिविटी कर ली थी, मैं इस बार भी ऐसी करूंगा. तो आप ये मानते हो that users recall sort of strength would be very, very high, and that is one big misunderstanding or mistake that product managers tend to make, or I would say UX designer tend to make. So your goal should be to minimize the burden on users' memory by making objects, actions, and options visible always. It should not be like that user need to remember that whatever path user is using to reach to a certain section on your platform. If user would be required to do that, in that case, you have failed as a UX person or as a product manager. So if I'll give you an example, in that case, now let's say we'll take an example of, let's say you're looking for a mic, and you have an understanding that you don't know that what kind of mic you want. There are a lot of names, maybe a hand mic, a micro mic, or maybe a mic stand, or mini mic, or maybe stage mic. So there are different names of these mics. But since you are not a mic connoisseur, you don't know very detailed information about mics. What you want is just a normal mic which you can use to take sessions on Bright Echo. Now, What would you do? If Flipkart or Amazon would have shown you all the names, only names, then would it have been easier for you to choose the mic which is important, which is useful to you? I guess not, because you would definitely not be able to understand the nomenclature of mics because you are not expert in that. And images exactly ease out that burden from your shoulders. Images would give you clarity that how this mic will look like, and you can easily segregate some stage mic with maybe some mic that you want to have, which is more like a table mic or something of that sort. So therefore, if I'll go back to the previous one, the user should not have to remember information from one part of the dialogue to another. Instruction for use of the system should be visible or easily retrievable whenever appropriate. I'll add one more sentence to it. It should be able to fill the gap of users' basic knowledge so that user won't end up struggling to find the right inventory on your platform. Here is the example. Okay, I'll jump on next, which is flexibility and efficiency of use. So you will find different kind of audience on your platform. There would be people who are new to your platform, who are the first time visitors, and they don't know certain languages or certain lingos or terms or certain features that you have available on your platform. At the same time, there are users who would frequently visit your platform, and they know how to do something on your platform. Now the thing is that you generally build your product for both kinds of users. The second kind of users, while the first kind of users would need elaborated information that if you want to do X, then this is the path to do it. This is a detailed path. And then there are repeat users who actually want to improve efficiency. That means they don't want to go through a lengthy path to achieve that objective. They want some sort of shortcuts because because they already know the platform. They already know that how this platform operates. They just want some shortcut so that they can learn that shortcut and do their activity quickly. They don't want to invest their time a lot in doing the repeat in doing same thing again and again. Now, I'll give you an example to better understand this to you. Have you guys used your Microsoft Word or maybe Excel? Anyone? Microsoft Word?
Yes.
Yes,
I hope
all
that
the time,
everybody use that, right? Yeah,
all the time.
PowerPoint, Excel, Word, any Microsoft product. Or forget about
Yes. Yes.
Microsoft, even Windows for that matter, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, even I would say Apple, even Mac, like I am using, like even Mac would do. The point is that if you start using Word, in that case, let's say you have written a paragraph, and after that you change that paragraph, and then after changing you realize कि नहीं यार जो पीछे वाला पैराग्राफ मैंने लिखा था ना वही सही था. Then what would you do if you want to see that paragraph again which you erased? Is my question audible to you? What I was asking? Let's say you write a paragraph on Microsoft. Let's say if I open this, I just open. Okay, this is the one. Let's say now I found that okay, number of users who clicked on register for free along with the SRC. I'll put it login layer. And then I thought, no, previous one was fine. What do I need to do in order to see the previous one or go back to previous one?
Control
Undo.
Z.
Undo.
Right? Control Z, right? So if I do
Yes.
Control Z, I would get to see that, right? Now, there are multiple ways. There are a couple of ways in which I can do undo. One is that I'm a new user. I don't know this shortcut. What would I do? I would go to top bar, this one, and I would click on undo, like this one, like this one. This is the undo button. I'll click on undo. Okay. Or maybe if I accidentally, if I undo something and I really want to redo it, then I'll click on this. Now, this will take some time because you need to move your cursor here, then here, and all those things you need to do. Therefore, for the repeat user, in order to improve efficiency, you directly use Control Z, which is a shortcut. But the
Okay.
thing is, sorry, somebody was saying something.
No.
Okay. Yep. So this is what it is, that you need to have a platform which has an option to suffice the need of different kind of users, be it the first time user or be it the repeat user. Like in this case, if you want to copy something, then you can first go to edit and then go to copy. At the same time, if you are a professional user, then you would be able to do it by clicking on Command C or Control C in case of Windows. So therefore, this is more applicable for the B2B platform, guys. B2B platform. That means it's a software which is used by professionals out there in the market to earn money. So Zomato is not here, but at the same time, since a lot of people do designing and all as freelance assignment or designing as a part of their job, or maybe use Word or create PowerPoint presentations as a part of their job, and therefore they need to do these things frequently. For them, it will be very cumbersome to go again and again to edit button and then clicking on copy, cut, redo, or undo or paste. So therefore, they would appreciate if there is a shortcut available. At the same time, there would be users who will be first time users and they won't be able to remember that what are the shortcuts. And therefore, they need to have a way so that they can go there and choose the correct options that they want. Okay. Now, the eighth principle says that aesthetic and minimal design. So, this is what I told earlier as well, that dialogues should not contain information which is irrelevant or rarely needed. Every extra unit of information, this is important guys, this line, that every extra unit of information in a dialogue competes with the relevant units of information and diminishes their relative visibility. That means if you add more and more words to your dialogue, then your dialogue will get lengthy, and the lengthier it gets, the difficult it is for the user to read the entire dialogue with the same interest and consume the information. What would happen? That user would start ignoring the information. So therefore, whatever word that you are putting in a message for the user should be minimum. At the same time, should not be that less that either it is not providing enough information or it is misinforming the user. Is this clear, guys? This part is very important to understand.
Yes, yes, clear.
If I'll come to this is Google, right?
So the first example that you showed of the blocked website, probably this is the most best case which will help here.
This one you are saying?
Yes. For example, this since this is a wish list page, the details of the products that are in my wish list should be just limited to the images that that I have the products that I've selected. Probably, if I'm wrong.
True, partially true, I would say, partially not true as well. The thing is that what I was coming from is that here you would have certain set of information. I agree that this might be information overloaded, and therefore there could be a button of more, more, which user would click, and then this part will expand, and user can see other details. At the same time, few people would say that if I'll show all this information upfront, then it is highly likely that user would click on add to bag. So you need to run experiments actually. Who who gave this point? Is it Himanshu?
Yes.
Okay, you made this point, right? Okay. So Himanshu, like, okay, so this is a fair point, but you need to do some A/B experiment. That means you need to show two versions to the user. A few user would be seeing only a more link, and a few users will be seeing the entire piece. And then you would see that how these people are reacting, how many people are clicking on more versus how many people are clicking on add to bag if you are showing all the information. Okay,
Yes, yes,
we'll come
yes,
to that. We'll come to
yes.
this as well. So there, with that point which I meant, it's more like that. Let's say this one. Maybe just a second. Now this one. If I'm entering that, enter your active email ID to receive relevant jobs. If I would write that enter your active email ID, either Gmail or Yahoo Mail or anyone, to receive relevant jobs in the timely manner. Now, all these extra words in timely manner, Gmail, Ymail, Yahoo Mail, this would definitely make this statement a little more clearer, which might not be needed. Number one. Number two, if I'll make this message very lengthy, then there is a high chance that user would ignore the useful part of the message. Because if I'll push relevant jobs to the end, then user might only read till here and then think कि हाँ मुझे पता चल गया क्या लिखना है, मैं बस ईमेल आईडी डालनी है ना, डाल देता हूँ ईमेल आईडी. So therefore, you need to maintain the brevity or the conciseness in the content when you are showing it to the user. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, it's
Yes,
clear.
yes, it's
Yeah.
clear.
Yes.
Okay. The ninth one says that help users recognize, diagnose, and recover from errors. So this is a little linked with the previous one when I said that users are bound to make mistakes. Now the thing is that the way you inform user about a certain problem on the site, in that case, or maybe a recovery path, that how to recover from those errors, the language that you use should be understandable by the user. If you use jargons, then it will be very difficult for the user to understand. If you would say that there is some bug, then I think in this session only I discussed that example, that for a lot of people, for the normal users, bug is an insect and not an issue. But technically, for technical people, bug is a problem related to the code. So the point is that your error messages should be expressed in plain languages, no code, precisely indicating the problem and constructively suggesting a solution. So I'll take an example maybe. So this one. So for the technical users, if you would say that there is a duplicate entry exists in the email ID column in the database, users will be stumped. I don't know what the hell are you talking about. Okay. But if you would write this, that someone already has this email address, try another name. Then this makes it clear. The first part tells you the problem, that someone already has the email address, therefore you cannot take. And try another name gives you a solution to recover from this problem. So you need to make your messages clear enough so that user can understand the problem area, number one. Number two, user can easily recover from it. Is this clear?
Yes. So
Yes,
just
yes.
one more
Yes.
point related to 404 pages that
Mhm.
generally are so would, would that be good idea or because the general practice which I see is that a 404 error message is shown on when a page is missing.
Right, absolutely. And that's a good example. See, 404 is something which has been there since long, and nowadays, what sites are doing, they are creating a default error page, which replaces all 404 or 4xx pages, which is 404, 401, both the pages maybe basically. So the point is that what they say is that this page is no longer exist on our platform. So this tells to the user that this page is retired from the site, or they says that this page is no longer available. However, there are similar pages which you may would like to browse.
Right.
That's a
Right.
graceful way to address these kind of situations.
Yes, I understand. Thank
Coming to last principle of heuristics by Jacob Nielsen, help and documentation. So it is very easy that the user would not find something on your site because that is not your primary problem to address. But what is important is to give user access to FAQ, help and documentation kind of thing very easily on the site. User should not be required to struggle to find that where help document or where FAQ document is located on your site. So therefore, if I would take an example, on this site, you would see that at the bottom of the screen, there are different topics already available. And then these topics are divided into multiple categories. Now the thing is that generally content developer for sites create these links basis the number of queries that they are getting from the user. Lot of users if are querying about their order, where is their order status is not known to them, then they put it where's my order in the same language. Or user says that I'm not able to make payment for my order, then paying for order, and so on and so forth. So the point is that help and documentation link should always be available. Generally, sites put this either at the top, some corner, or maybe at the bottom for sure. Like this help is there. FAQ, cancellation, returns. So these kind of things, if are available, then users feel comfortable that they don't need to talk to some customer care executive. They can directly go here and check if solution to their problem exists already. Okay. So that is why help and documentation is very important to be shown upfront to the user and should be available as a link on all the pages across site. So guys, this was the last one. Now, okay, this part is more around that how engineering as a stakeholder ensures that your product or your feature is not missing out on certain unexpected problems. So I'll take an example. So once you create a PRD, product requirement document, then you take multiple use cases into consideration. If this happens, then I'll do this. If this happens, then I'll do this. If this happens, then I'll do this. Still, there are a lot of edge cases which only appears once you start execution. And with execution, I mean once technical team starts development. Now, there are certain cases which technical team comes up with for which they don't have a solution and their code is getting busted or their code is breaking. So then they come to you and tells you that what should I do when this happens. So therefore, it is important to sit with engineering team to understand more such use cases which you might have not addressed already. So if I'll give you an example, as a Twitter person, I would have created a use case when I have written that followers will be shown here one by one, and then following whoever I'm following right now, they'll be shown here in the list format. But I have never thought that how it should look like if there is no follower and no following, because that's how it's going to be started, right? So technical team person would come to you and tell you that what should I show if there is no follower? Should I show a blank screen? Would user think that if I would show a blank screen, then there is some problem with the application? So then you would go to you would go to design team again and tell design team that for this case also I need a design. Although there are a lot of design teams, but because they are working with tech team on the daily basis, therefore they get to understand all these things better. But there is a fair chance that they and you also would miss out on something. And therefore partnering with engineering team helps a lot. Okay. Now, I'll jump on the last part, which is heat map testing. This is one of the sort of analytical skill, or this will give you some insight on your site's usage by the users. And this is a very important tool because nowadays every single company, you may go, Zomato, Amazon, InfoEdge, Naukri.com, Compass, maybe Google, any company, they value insights a lot. They need to know that what users are doing on their site or what users are ignoring on your site, so that you can understand that what is more important to the user, and accordingly you can plan your future roadmap. Having said that, there are multiple heat map testing tools. So when I'm saying heat map testing, that means it creates a map, or I would say it gives you an insight that in which all areas of your site screen users are clicking, or users are putting their cursor, or users are scrolling. We'll come to detail in next slide on each one of these. The major tools which are popular. So as it said, kind of tools used to measure the activity of users on your site or application by means of their mouse movements and clicks. Okay, there are popular tools out there in the market. These are not free to use. Number one is Hotjar. This is one of the most popular. The second one is Crazy Egg. This is also equally popular. And then Inspectolate. And not only that, there are more than three as well, but these are more popular to evaluate heat map testing or heat map insights. Now, the first one that I would like to start with is a click map. So it shows you that where users are clicking. Now, this is a screenshot of the tool. So this looks a little blurry. I'll take it up for you. I'll probably spell it out for you, read it out for you. So the top one says heat maps hub page take two. So this is more like a test or more like a name of the heat map test that you are running. Okay. Then comes page targeting. This is the URL. This is the URL of the page. This is device. So this is a laptop or maybe desktop sign, you can say. This is tablet sign and this is mobile sign. So you can check that on this page, when accessed via desktop or tab or mobile phone, what are the clicks that we have got and where all. This is a type which tells you click, movement and scroll. We'll come to move and scroll later because this page tells you about the click. So here if you see there is a parameter, there is a bottom scale. The cold is the bluest one. The most blue one is the cold one. And then hot is the reddest one. Wherein it is most red, that is the hottest one. Now having said that, here if you see the clicks on this area has been maximum out of all other areas on this page. Also, it tells you that number of total clicks recorded in the duration during which you are evaluating data for. That you can say like I need data for day one. That means yesterday on 23rd of July from 12 a.m. to 12 midnight or 12 maybe kind of the previous midnight to 12 midnight, how many people total clicked on this screen? And that is 3985. Also, I want to know that which section, that what a percentage of clicks went to which section. Then one way is that you can easily see that 349 clicks happened on this out of total 3985, which is 8.76%. So this tells you that where exactly users are clicking most on the screen. Have you got the point, guys? You would be using this tool a lot once you join product management team of any company.
We are actually using it right now also.
Okay.
We are using the recording feature of the Hotjar. Like Ajay, you told me you have to sit with the engineering team. Usually we go through this user recording actually. User recordings actually help us understand where users are stuck. Because हमें तो product पता है पूरा कैसे use होता है. But एक नया user कहाँ अटकता है, हम लोग को भी पता भी होता है कहाँ user अटक सकता है. छोटे-छोटे बटन पे user अटक जाता है. तो जैसे Hotjar में हम उसका user recording होती है. हम दिन में 100 सेशन रिकॉर्ड करते हैं Hotjar से. तो that becomes very useful. उससे आप पूरा देख सकते हैं यूजर कहाँ क्लिक कर रहा है, कहाँ अटक रहा है, कहाँ पढ़ता है, कहाँ पॉज करता है. We can check everything using Hotjar.
Absolutely. Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Please go
नहीं नहीं
ahead.
sorry, नहीं, it also tells us कि यूजर कौन से कंट्री से आ रहा है, कौन से डिवाइस से आ रहा है, या कहाँ पे अटकता है, कहाँ पे सब. It is very useful. We rarely use we use recordings more as compared to heat maps. हीट मैप्स बस हम यूज करते हैं बटन प्लेसमेंट और बैनर्स प्लेसमेंट करने के लिए, कि जहाँ क्लिक से वहां पे बटन अच्छे, वहां बटन होने चाहिए, वहां बैनर्स होने चाहिए, ताकि यूजर्स को कुछ क्लिक करने के लिए मिले.
Right.
Yes.
So that's a fair point, and great that you are already using it. I'm sure that a lot of companies are using it, and this really gives you enough great insight. Now, when I was talking about kind of engineering support, I was done till here. So after this, it's an entirely new thing. For heat map testing, definitely you don't need engineering team at all in order to generate the insights and evaluate them or analyze them. What you need engineering team for is that you need to include Hotjar APIs in your code. Only then you will be able to use Hotjar, because you, by including APIs, you are giving Hotjar that permission, or you are importing Hotjar SDK, so that Hotjar will be able to show you these kind of insights,
Yeah.
or maybe recording for that matter.
It's just a script like Google Analytics script. It's a basic script.
Right,
We can,
right.
it is implemented by Tag Manager. We have implemented it. It's a simple script.
Sure. Yep. Yep. No, no, that's great. Great, great. So this is a heat map tool, guys, and this is what we use for click. On the similar, like this is another example of the same thing. And on the similar note, there is a move heat map. So earlier we showed you that where user has clicked most. Now this one is where user has moved cursor most. That tells you some sort of insight around the user, around the area user is interested in. So let's say user has moved this area most. This is in, let's say, red color, and red is the strongest one, like 100%. And therefore, since this is red, therefore you can say that out of all the areas on the screen, this is the area wherein user has scrolled, or user has moved the cursor most. Therefore, this area user has found interesting. So that's about this part, the move part. Similarly, the scroll map. It tells you that how many scrolls users have made on your site. Again, this tells you, the red tells you that 100%. And of course, if the page is opened, then the first fold or the first part of the screen would definitely be visible to everyone. Therefore, this part would definitely be 100%. But the point is that there are other parts which shades, or which differs in shades, like from orange, from red to orange, and then orange to yellow, yellow to green, green to turquoise blue, and then turquoise blue to navy blue sort of thing. So the thing is, it tells you that people reaching to this stage is very less, reaching to this stage will be a little more. Like in this one, here you can easily tell that 75% of users have reached till here, or 91.8% of visitors have reached till here. It also tells you average fold by taking out the average, that on an average people have moved till here. So how it helps you? Let's say you are trying to launch a new feature on this page. Now, in order to make user use that feature, कि यार यूजर कम से कम उस फीचर को यूज करे, उसके लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है आपके लिए, कि पहले यूजर इस फीचर को देखे. If user is not able to see that feature, then how would user be able to use that feature? So therefore, you need to see that if you put that feature below to whatever level, then what are the chances, or what are the tentative number of users who would be able to view that feature? And then you can say that, okay, this feature is very, very important, and therefore I would like to put it definitely above this fold, so that at least 91.8% of the users will see that feature. It is super important to me. At the same time, you come up with another feature which is a secondary feature or feel good feature. Let's say on maybe on a site wherein you are showing salaries from Flipkart, and then on that site you want to give a salary calculator tool as well. You think that people who come to Flipkart salary, who are interested in checking out the salaries, they would also be interested in checking or calculating their salary basis their CTC. But you think that that's not the primarily important. and therefore you would put it probably somewhere below, because you are okay if only 75% of users would see that feature. So this scroll behavior tells you clearly that where you should put your feature depending on its criticality from the business and product standpoint. Is it clear, guys?
Yeah, clear.
This is important actually. This will help you in taking a lot of decisions, or maybe kind of not only taking but also convincing other folks that why you want to put this feature on top and not at the bottom.
So one question is, would these tools be helpful in B2B kind of scenarios where
No,
the
it is mainly B2C, not B2B much.
okay. So for me, basically the product that I'm leading is more of a B2B to C. So in such cases, and it is more of a specialized kind of a product. So in that such case, I don't think so. This would be more of much of a help for, or should I basically push to use these APIs and get this into it?
Okay, so if I understood you correctly, your product is B2B2C, right?
Right. It's more of a telecom operator based solution. So
Right.
how the telecom operator can configure their own routing numbers towards for the Pizza Hut. Uh, they can define which the toll free number should redirect to the end number, right? So that Pizza Hut company can define. So Pizza Hut company is basically configuring it.
Right. Okay. So in that case, you need to identify the most frequent activities that users perform on your product, like end user. Okay. So that means I'm not sure that if the interface for the end user is determined or designed by your team, or you only provide support for the backend activity, and the interface with which those Pizza Hut and Domino's folks interact, those are determined or defined or created by the buyer clients.
Yeah, so it's basically mixed. Some of the telecom operators do it by themselves. In some cases, we provide our own UI. So in our own UI, of course, we can do this implementation.
Right. So absolutely. In fact, kind of you should consider it. Although the point is that you are, kind of you because you would be rolling out this feature, or your clients actually include some of the end customers who might not be very tech savvy as well, and therefore you want to know like which feature are they using most, and at least those features you should be putting on top. So let's say you have put this main feature at the bottom. Now what would happen that Domino's and Pizza Hut guy, they any which ways need to follow that, right? And therefore, what would they do? They actually scroll to the bottom and then they use that feature because they don't
Right.
have the option. Now the point is that if you see that 90%, more than 90% of the users are visiting to the bottom, and at the same time, you see that the other two heat maps, that means the movement heat map and the click heat map, this is very low as compared to bottom scroll heat map for your product. In that case, people are finding more relevant stuff at the bottom, or maybe not in the first scroll. And therefore, then you can decide that you need to put most important or most used feature on top, so that users don't need to scroll to the bottom. That can improve your user experience.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That is helpful.
Right. So this is what you can do with the heat map testing tool. Quickly, kind of last couple of slides, I think, which is about A/B testing. So you guys, some of you, like maybe Abhinav, you guys might have tried A/B testing a lot. So A/B testing is more like when you are equally sure about two variants. That means, let's say, a UX designer comes up. You have opened a site for maybe a food stall, a food truck, which wherein you can also come to the food truck and eat there, and you can also take a parcel, or you can also order for delivery. Now the thing is that your designer comes up with a design or maybe two designs, and you are willing to go for a design. Let we call it A and B design. And your designer says, no, although I have made both A and B, but I think that B would be better, and you think A would be better. And now both of you don't have some data to back your thoughts कि अगर क्योंकि ये मेरे पास डेटा है इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ए ही चलेगा, या फिर डिजाइनर also don't have any thoughts or don't have any backing of data that because this is what data says and that is why we should go for design B. Now what you do, you have two options, that you first implement design A, run it for 7 days, then implement design B, run it for another 7 days, and then compare that which design users were most interacting with. The problem is that there are a lot of economical and some other factors which impacts or influences your study, and that is very popular because let's say you have launched a site for maybe this food truck. Now in first week, when you launched first design, it was first week of the month when people have their pockets full of salary, and therefore they ordered a lot from outside, and therefore you got a lot of clicks on your site on those buttons, and you got a lot of conversions as well. At the same time, maybe by the time you tried other design, it is almost half of the month, and people already started become conservative about their spendings. Therefore, people started coming less to your site and even started using your feature a little lesser. So you would be thinking that probably B design is not that good and therefore people are not interacting with it. But here, the hypothesis, the conclusion that you are drawing is flawed. In order to avoid these kind of things, or maybe COVID is the classic example. In Naukri, or maybe a lot of other sites, their traffic almost tanked in less than 15 days because a lot of people who were looking for a job actively earlier, they actually started lying low. They stopped their job search because they were not sure if they should join a different company and resign right now, because they think that maybe by the time they join another company, the company might see some economical crisis or financial crisis and they would fire you. Now the thing is that in those 15-20 days, the traffic was very low. We launched a feature, and after that, we found that the feature usage is very less. Now the thing is that if we would have tried another form of that feature after 15-20 days, when the market recovered with that shock a little, then probably we would have flawed our conclusion कि यार ये better है, ये अच्छा नहीं है. In order to avoid these kind of biases in the conclusion, A/B testing is a tool or is a technology or is an activity or is a theory which people follows in the market. What it does, at the same time, it launches both A and B variant to the market, and you decide like 50% user goes to A, 50% goes to B. And then at the same time, therefore, no economic factors or no external factor would essentially influence your conclusion, and therefore you end up making a sort of a little more rational call that yes, this option is better than this option, and therefore now we should roll out this option which is the winner to all 100% of the audience. Now there are two variants which we call as, one is control variant and second one is experiment variant. Control variant people generally see in case you are trying a new design, then people who sees the same old design, they become part of control variant, and people who would see new design, they become part of experiment variant. So this is the case when you try and change the existing UI. So let's say if I'll come to this site and I have this, now I want to change this. Now what I can do, if I want to change this, then this is the original one. I'll make this as a control variant, and I'll ask, or I'll say that 50% of the people who would be coming to this page, this URL, they will be seeing this page, and another 50% will be seeing different page, the new version. And I'll see that how many people are dropping out from this page. That means people are not filling out details and they are leaving the platform versus the other one. And wherever I see people are converting most, I would go ahead with that design. and make it live for 100% of the audience. So what can you A/B test? So there are a lot of things that you can test. One is copy, of course. Copy, that means content. That means the messaging that you are showing. So I'll take this example maybe. If I'll see here, let's say, if I want to change this copy, like enter your active email ID to receive relevant jobs. And if I'll enter one more, which is enter your active email ID. And therefore I see that when I write this, then people are most likely to enter a legitimate email ID and not a some fudgy one, because now user know that on this email ID user would be receiving jobs and user would like to receive jobs. Therefore user would enter email ID which is relevant and which is active. Therefore, I can try with copy, maybe banners. There are some lot of offers banners. That means 50% off or buy one get one free. So these two are same, like in a way for a few people. So therefore, when you are saying 50% off or you are saying that 50% discount, so you run these two things at the same time, and then you see that people are clicking on which most, or navigation or buttons. Let's say on Naukri, we have tried this long back. Like if you see this, in that case, you see the register for free, right? This button, orange color button. What we tried is that sign up now, register now, and register for free. People who clicked or who were shown register for free, most of them actually converted their registration with us. And therefore, we rolled this out to 100% of the audience. So that's how you can check it for buttons and CTAs. Design is there, social proofs are there. So there are multiple reasons or multiple areas wherein you can use A/B test. I'll show you an example. Like this is Airbnb example. And now if you see this, which is encircled, here this is the control variant. That means that here what you have written, this is a little smaller in font. I'll read it out for you. 180 per $180 one per night is the price, and 4.92 is the star rating. This is 1 star, and 4.92 is written in number, and in bracket they have written 433 reviews. That is one way in which product manager is showing the review. Now this is another one which says, which directly shows you the stars, and 433 is the review count. So these two are different variants of the same information. And then product manager will say that I'll check that what I will show is converting users most. That means users are reserving their place. So that I think is the better approach. Or if I'll show you Netflix. In Netflix, they tried a couple of approaches. One is try it now. The other one is try it now and learn more together. Now, a lot of people used to click on learn more because they saw this also one of the option. Though it is secondary, but still it is an option available. And therefore, user used to click here. And after that, user used to drop out. So then Netflix thought that let's try with one as well. And then finally, this got implemented. So the whole idea is that you have a lot of things which for which you will never be sure if X is better or Y is better. For that, there is A/B testing tool with which you can solve this problem, and you can have a competition running where the winner will be replicated for all the 100% of the audience. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. I think, kind of this is all what I had for today's session. And if there is any issue, any other concern, any other thought that you have right now or you would have, I would be happy to discuss. Okay. Again, before, kind of ending, yeah, anybody was saying something? Okay. So before ending this session, I would encourage you guys to go, kind of pick out a few products which are very popular in the market, and then analyze them from the design perspective, that what would have been the better design, number one. Number two, you also identify that maybe a sample page or a sample site, you can pick any one of your favorite product and see that what all different variants you would have tried for A/B testing, and what is your success criteria. That means if these many hits or these many traffic or this much of conversion happens in A variant, then I would go for A, or otherwise would go for B. And maybe you can also design in your own way that these are a couple of thoughts that I have in my mind and I would like to give it a try in case I would be the product manager for this product.
Hey, Puneet, one question I wanted to ask. I mean, somewhere in this session, you referred that you work with engineering team to tell them what actually you want from product. Let's say, for example, if you want to change the navigation bar, how it feels, looks, size, and all. Now, off the track question, let's say, for example, I want to start a project or a firm of my own, and I'm the whole in source. So for front end, I mean, in general, we know we need to hire developers who are very good at CSS, HTML5, or something more where they can work on latest tools and technology to bring the front end. And then there are backend developers who might be good at Spring Framework or the latest technology available over there. Now, in a whole, if I want to launch a product, let's say for example I want to launch a website like Amazon, Flipkart on my own, what are the minimum number of resources which I need to look at from a product manager perspective? Let's say for example, if CEO comes to me and he tells me, okay, it's a starting firm, what all resources you need as a product manager, tell me. So what should my be my answer to him?
Okay. So the first of all, the answer is a little subjective because it depends on a lot of things. Number one is that let's say you want to just launch an MVP, like Amazon, Flipkart, these are very mature sites and they've been in the market since ages now, more than a decade. So the point is that how they started. If you check Web Archive, have you seen Web Archive tool anytime by any chance? I'll show you in just a second.
Wayback Machine or something like that.
Right, it's actually Wayback Machine. That's true. So if you go to Web Archive, so the point is that when these sites started, at that time these sites were not this mature as much as they are today. That's number one. Number two is that you launch an MVP always to start with. MVP is minimum viable product. That means if you even reduce one piece from that MVP, then your product will not be able to serve the core purpose of your application, of your product.
Right.
Now, when it comes to MVP, if there is a B2B application wherein probably you want to launch a parallel to Zoom, let's say, the one that we are talking on right now. And in that case, you say, like, my first feature that I want to launch is only and only video call. No text messages are there, no screen sharing is there. It is only a light version of Zoom, which only has a video call or audio call feature. That's it. So
Right.
since the scope is very less for MVP, therefore probably only 1 p.m. would do. Now
Okay.
let's say in Zoom you start with an MVP. Let's say GeoMeet. GeoMeet launched itself around 1 year ago, and they used exact same UI as much of Zoom. And on day one, they had a lot of features available. Text feature is there, video feature, audio feature is there, or even screen share is there. So if you want all the feature, then depending on that, you need to identify that how many resources would you need.
Right.
Okay, so it depends on volume of the volume of the features that you would like to provide as a part of MVP.
Right.
Right? So I'm mentoring a few startups right now, and this question is pretty popular. That Puneet, that what do you think that how many should we hire because we are bootstrapped, we don't have funds. Because if you have funding, then you can definitely hire maybe one or two extra people. You don't worry a lot. When you are completely bootstrapped, you don't have any money, or if whatever money you have is of your own. then probably you become very conservative in spending, and therefore you would try and hire as less people as possible to just build the MVP and roll it out to the market first,
Correct.
right? So therefore your stance changes a lot depending on the MVP, depending on if you are funded, well funded or not, and if you are a tech oriented or maybe product oriented startup. There are certain startups which are entirely data science or AI oriented or computer vision oriented. For them, it is of imperative importance that they need to hire maybe two or three data scientists to start with. Generally, that's how it happens. But they may live with one product manager to start with. And then there are certain startups wherein they want a lot of things, a lot of features to start with, which are not data science oriented. For that, they probably need two product managers to start with, and maybe one or two designers, or maybe two or three developers. So it varies.
Okay. So, Puneet, if I want to launch a minimum viable product, let's say, for example, a OTT platform,
Mhm.
where I can just list down the popular movies, would, if I am a product manager, and if I get a very good front end developer, single source, and a very good back end developer, would that suffice to launch a MVP for a product like this?
Yeah, that should be. The main reason is that you have, first of all, you have some classic examples out there in the market which you can blindly follow.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that in case of Reliance Jio, if product manager played really, really important or critical role because they just replicated Zoom exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that what product manager needs to do. So tech team generally in the in general in a company's environment, what technical team say is कि बॉस मैं एग्जीक्यूट कर दूंगा लेकिन मुझे ना रिटर्न में चाहिए कि आपको क्या क्या चाहिए. आप ये नहीं बोल सकते कि आप ना इसकी एक रेप्लिकेट बना दो, एक इसका रेप्लिका बना दो सेम टू सेम. दैट कैन नॉट वर्क. आप ये नहीं बोल सकते हो क्योंकि मुझे नहीं पता उसमें क्या क्या छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं. मेरे को दो चीजें दिख रही हैं बस ऑडियो और वीडियो कॉलिंग में, वो बना दूंगा दैट्स इट. या मुझे आइकन दिख रहे हैं. इसके पीछे कुछ भी आप बोलते हो ना कि लेट से अगर दूसरे वाले ने अगर कॉल प्रेस करा है और यहाँ से इस बंदे ने भी एक्सीडेंटली उसी समय कॉल प्रेस कर दिया, तो मुझे ये देखना है कि किसकी कॉल डिक्लाइन होगी और किसकी मिलेगी. या फिर
Right.
अगर आप ये चाहते हो कि जिस टाइम पर ये कॉल पे बात कर रहा है बंदा उसी टाइम पर एक और भी कॉल आ गया, तो मैं उसको
Mm-hmm.
दिखाऊंगा या नहीं दिखाऊंगा उस समय कॉल, या मैं उसको क्या दिखाऊंगा जो कॉल कर रहा है कि दिस पर्सन इज एंगेज राइट नाउ. So all those use cases are there which technical team might not be aware of, number one, and they might not discover because of lack of interest. So for that, you need a PM to identify all possible use cases. Network is not there. Network is there, but it is poor. Network is there, but people are kind of talking, or maybe a lot of background noise is coming. So you want to implement noise cancellation also. At the same time, there are a lot of people who are on the same call, and they might start speaking together. So therefore, you need to make sure that kind of noise getting cancelled and all those things are there. At the same time, whoever is speaking, that person's photograph or that person's thumbnail should start a little blowing up or glowing up, so that
Mm-hmm.
you would know that who is talking.
Right.
All those minor things are there with which your product manager kind of write that down one by one, so that technical teams only focus on the execution part and not on the maybe kind of the identification and use case part. But yes, there might be some use cases like this one only, that is someone starts calling you while you are already on call, then what would happen? So this you might miss as a product manager because you didn't think about it. But then technical team would say, because they would do concurrent testing, they would actually ask their testing team to talk to or maybe dial in a person while person is already on another call, and then they would come up with this thing that what would happen at that time, and then as a PM you need to provide an answer to that.
Right.
Does it make sense, Prasoon?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, all right. Any other question, guys, or else we are good, we are done for the day. All right, guys. Thank you so much for kind of having me and bearing up with me for good 2 hours. And I hope that you found this session useful. And I would encourage you to do some exercise on your own, as I mentioned earlier. And have a nice rest of the weekend. All the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks,
Thank you.
Puneet.
Thank you.